Hello guys, welcome to my session. So today we will discuss about interview question on Kubernetes. So here the first question is what is daemon set? So daemon set, this is essentially runs a copy of desired pod across all the node. When a new node is added to a Kubernetes cluster, the new pod will be added to a newly attached node. So suppose in a cluster we have 10 worker node, and when you run the daemon set file, so the 10 pod will be created. So it's directly proportional to the worker node and how many node are in cluster. So if you have two worker node, then two pod will be created. So in the daemon set we haven't set any replica, so because in the stateful set or deployment kind file we have to define the replica. Like if we set the replica 5 count, then 5 pod will be created and they will schedule in any of the worker node. Like 2 pod will be created in one worker node, 3 pod will be scheduled in other worker node. But in the daemon set case, the pod will be scheduling on each and every node. So you can say it's directly proportional to the worker node. So every time each pod will be scheduling on each node. So like you have 3 worker node, then 3 pod will be created, and it's like directly proportional to the worker node. Okay. And next question is what is the range of node port service? So node port is a kind of service. So generally in Kubernetes, 3 types of service: cluster IP, node port, and load balancer. So 3 is the basic service, and what are the range of node port service is 30,000 to 32,767. So this is also the basic book question in the Kubernetes, like what are the range of the node port service. So you can give the answer like the range of is 30,000 to 32,000. So this is the range of node port service. So which container runtime using in Kubernetes? So container runtime is a component of worker node. So there are 3 components of worker node. One is kubelet, second is kubeproxy, third one is container runtime. And which container runtime we are using? So we are using the container D. So the interviewer ask you like which container runtime you are using, because in the earlier time we are using the Docker as a container runtime, but here we are using the container D. So the latest version of Kubernetes cluster using the container D as a runtime. So you have to make sure like the which version you are using in Kubernetes. That also a very common question, like which Kubernetes version. So in the Azure case we are using 1.23 is the latest Kubernetes version. So that's another interview question, like which Kubernetes version you are using. So you can say I am using the 1.23 something like 012. So what are the taint and toleration? So toleration are applied to pod and allow the pod to schedule onto the node with matching taint. So suppose in a cluster you have 5 worker node and you are using only 4 worker node. You want to keep the reserve 1 worker node. So in this case you have applied the taint and toleration. Like you can tell them like no pod will be scheduled on the 5th worker node, because when you deploy any application, then the pod will be scheduled in any of the 4 worker nodes. You can exclude the 1 worker node. So in this way you can apply the taint and toleration. So taint and toleration is useful where we don't want to schedule any of the new pod on a particular worker node. So in that case we can use the taint and toleration concept. So you have to tainted the node so that the no pod. So because there are multiple way, like if you have requirement, like you can schedule the pod on a particular worker node, so you can do through the node selector affinity rules. And if you have the scenario based question, like the interview asks you, I don't want to schedule any of the pod into the particular worker node, so you can achieve using this taint and toleration. So this is a very important question. And what is cordon and drain? So cordon will make the node is unshadable, like no pod will be scheduled on this node, and drain make it unsuitable, like it evict all the pod. So like suppose in your cluster you have some planned activity on the particular worker node. So suppose 20 pod is running over the worker node which we want to perform any maintenance on the node. So you can't do like you have to restart the pod, or you have to migrate some of the pod to another worker node. So it's so very tough to do through manually. So better you have to drain the worker node. So once you drain the node, then your all pod will be evicted, like it's all pod will be safely evicted to the another worker node. But make sure when you are doing the cordon and drain, then you have to at least 2 or 3 worker node will be there in the cluster, and the another worker node having the much capacity, because sometimes the you have all the worker node having already overconsumed like 80-90% CPU memory full, and then you are drain the worker node, so it will the overloaded on the another worker node. So you have to make sure we have sufficient capacity on the another worker node, then after you can do the cordon and drain. So cordon and drain, the concept is used for safely eviction of your pod. Then you can do the your patching activity like upgrade the node and host patches, and the rest of the activity you can perform. So before that you have to do cordon and drain. The next question, what are all the component of master node? So we have 4 component of master node. So this is the very basic question, like what is the kube API server, what is etcd, what is scheduler, what is control manager. So I have already explained in my session. So if you want to get the details of all the component, then you can contact me. So I will share you the detailed version, like what are all the component, how it works, and all the things. So here, what are the basic question, what are the component of master node? So kube API, etcd, scheduler, control manager, and what are all the component of worker node. So the master node we have 4 component, and the worker node we have 3 component. One is kubelet, kubeproxy, container runtime. So you have to work on this, what is kubelet, what is kubeproxy, what is container runtime, how it works, what is the use of kubelet, kubeproxy, container runtime, that you have to do homework on this. So how many types of service? So generally we have basic 3 types of service: cluster IP, node port, load balancer. So this is also very important question. So generally in the environment we are using this type of service. And this is the some scenario based interview question. Suppose like you have tasked to extend the persistent volumes, like in your application pod they are using the Azure disk as a persistent volume, and you are assigning the 250 GB of 250 GB you have assigned for the persistent volume, and out of 250, 240 GB already occupied, like pod data using 240 GB. So only we have 10 GB we have to space left. So we have to requirement to extend like from 250 to 350. But I'm doing through the command, like we are trying to extend the persistent volume, but I'm not able to do the extend the persistent volume. So how do we fix the issue? So for that we have to verify like which storage class you are using, and in the storage class YAML file what are the parameter you have to define. So this is a very important parameter, allow volume expansion. So this should be true. If it is false or you haven't defined the allow volume expansion, then you can't extend the persistent volumes. Okay, so we have already video on that, how to extend persistent volumes. Let me show you. So this is my channel where I have uploaded all the live troubleshooting video scenario based and that one. So this is the one of the I have explained how do we extend the persistent volume and troubleshooting. So in this session I have explained what are the how do we extend the persistent volume. I am showing you here in the live, like you can see here. You can see here we have 3 GB capacity. Now I have to use, like, how do we extend the persistent volume, and later you can see it here the 4 GB we have extended. So in the use case, in the environment, you have requirement like 250 GB, you want to extend the 350. So we are doing the same similar way what I have show you here. So how do we extend the persistent volume? So you can see it here. Earlier it was 3 GB capacity. Now it extended to the 4 GB. So you can refer those video how do we extend the persistent volumes and what type of issue when we are doing the extension the volumes. So here you have to check this, the alarm volume expansion should be true. If it is false, then you can't able to extend the persistent volume, and storage class must be there. Without a storage class you can't create the persistent volume. You can create, but it's not in the bound state, it will be stuck in pending state. So similar way we have one issue like persistent volumes are stuck in the pending state. So persistent volumes, okay. So here you have to verify the YAML file of the storage class. You have to check like this parameter is there or not. If the parameter is there, then you have to make sure like you have to allow volume expansion should be true. Okay. And the second question scenario based, like if PVC deleted, then corresponding PVC is also deleted. Okay, because when you define the persistent volumes in the manifest file, so you have to define the volume name, persistent volume name, persistent volume claim name. So suppose you are deleting the pod, so the persistent volume is there. So if you are deleting the persistent volume, so should the persistent volume is also deleted? So it's depend upon the reclaim policy, because if it reclaim policy set to retain, in which case we do won't be deleted even the PVC is gone. We have to delete it manually. If the reclaim policy is deleted for PV, then PV is deleted if corresponding PVC is deleted. So there's two type of reclaim policy, one is retain and one is delete. So it depend upon the reclaim policy what you have defined in the persistent volumes claim template. So in the persistent volume claim template, let me show you. Reclaim policy volume, yeah. In the storage class you can see here the reclaim policy is delete. So if it is delete reclaim policy, then your persistent volume is also deleted when you are going to delete the persistent volume claims. Okay, if the reclaim policy is retain, then you where if the reclaim policy retain, then the persistent volume is there. If you have deleted the persistent volume claims and the reclaim policy is retain, then your persistent volume is there. So you should make sure your reclaim policy is the reclaim policy should be delete. Like if you want to keep the persistent volume, then you can make sure the reclaim policy is retain. You have to define. If retain, then persistent volume is not deleted when you delete the PVC. Okay. So it depend upon the reclaim policy. The two type of reclaim policy already discussed. One is retain, one is delete. If retain is there, then persistent volume is not deleted. If reclaim policy is deleted, then PV is also deleted when we are going to delete the persistent volumes. Okay, so this is another question, like if my etcd down, so will it impact on existing application? So no, it won't impact on existing application, because if we have restarted or delete the pod, then it will impact on application pod. Pod will not be created automatically after restart or reboot because of etcd down. So generally in the case you have deployed the you have deployed the web application pod. So you can make it the replica file or 3 replica you have defined in the deployment manifest. Suppose you have deleted or restart the pod, and automatically the new pod will be come up, because we have defined the YAML file the replica 3. Okay, so if the replica 3 we have defined and we are going to delete the pod, then automatically it will create in the this is the behavior of Kubernetes. But in the case if etcd down, then what it impact on existing application? So it won't impact existing application till the pod will be restarted or delete. Okay, so if we have restarted or delete the pod, then it will impact on existing application. So before restart or delete, it won't impact if it is cd down, because pod will not be created automatically. In general way, when we restart a pod, then pod will be created automatically, but in the case of etcd down, then the pod will not be created. So the answer is no, it won't impact on existing application. It impact when pod will be restarted or delete. So this is the very important question, like the interview asked you. Even I took many interview for my project. Even the candidate have 10+ years of experience and they have certified all the certificates CK, CK, CKD. But when asked about the scenario based question, so they stuck because they didn't have the chance to work on the real time environment. So based on that, I have created the session on that. Like I have discussed scenario based interview question, and I have created 20+ interview question. You can see it here, the 20+ troubleshooting video. So you can explain like you have worked on this type of issue when the interview asks to tell me about your challenges, what type of challenges you have worked, which type of issue you have worked. Suppose one of the pod having image pullback of error, let me know how to fix the issue. One of PVC is stuck in terminating state. So one of the application URL is down. So how do you fix the issue? Okay, so this type of scenario based question what I face in my environment in my project, that based on that I have created here. I have I have created the issue and then I have solved the issue on the live troubleshooting video. Like in my video I have explained you how to fix those issues. Okay, suppose this is the pod getting image pullback of error. So let me show you. So you can see it here. You can see it here. So you can see that some of the pods are in image pullback of error. You can see it as the image pullback of error, image pullback of few pods are running, but few pods are in image pullback of error. And after the troubleshooting, now you can see it here. All the pods are able to access, and now you can see it here. The pods are up and running, and we can access the application through the URL. So you can see that I have deployed a Tomcat application, and before it was stuck in image pullback of error. You can see it here. So I have explained what is the cause and how do we fix the issue. Like you can see it here, the image pullback of error. And after the troubleshooting, like we spent 20 minutes to solve this issue. We have explained what is the root cause and how do we fix the issue, and I can also show you how to access the application when we fix the issue, and you can see it here. We are able to access the application, Tomcat application. So in this way I have explained you like how do we fix the issue. Okay, so now come back to scenario based interview question. So if etcd down, will it impact? So no, it's not impact. So if scheduler down, will it impact on existing application? So it won't impact on existing application, because if scheduler down, then no new pod will be created, but it won't impact on existing application. So this is the one of the important question, if scheduler down, because the scheduler task, the main role of scheduler to deploy the pod into the worker node. So if scheduler is down, so will it impact on existing application? No, it won't impact on existing application, because if we restarted the pod, it won't impact, because when we restart the pod, it will read the file from the etcd, because in the etcd they keep all the configuration detail of the pod node cluster. So when we restart the pod, so the pod will go to the etcd and check it what replica we have defined in the YAML file. So in the YAML file we have defined 3 replica, then the 3 pod will be there. If we have deleted um, 1 pod out of 3, so it automatically created it automatically create the new pod. So but in the case of scheduler down, then it won't impact on existing application. We can't create a new pod. Okay, if we have requirement to deploy the new pod or new application pod, so we can't create a new pod because the scheduler is down. So the scheduler main task is to deploy the application, deploy the pod. Okay, and I have done some changes on the config map, but still it is not reflecting in application pod. Suppose in a config map you have defined some environment variable, like so if you want to do some changes, you have to do some add some parameter in the config map. But when we added some parameter or environment variable in the config map of the application, and but still it is not reflecting in application pod. So when we enter to the shell of the pod and we have to go to that path, we have to go to that path and find that what I made changes, those are not reflecting in the inside the pod. So how do we fix this issue? So this is the this is also the use case what I face in my environment. So in this case you have to reboot the pod. Okay, so if you do any changes in the config map, you should be restart the pod. Okay, once you restart the pod, then you can see the what you have made the changes in the config map. Those changes will be reflected in your application pod. So restart or reboot is mandatory if you do any changes in the config map. So you need to take the downtime if required. You have to inform the customer like we need to restart the pod if we do any changes. So this type of scenario based question, like if you work in real time, then you can tell them like yes, yes we need reboot, we need restart the pod, because this type of question like interview I ask you about, like if you really work in the real time and in the Kubernetes, then definitely you will give the answer in this way, yes. So this is the scenario based interview question. And sometimes the interview asks you the question about on real time issue, like image are present on the container registry. Okay, so but still I'm getting the image pullback of error on application log. You can see it here in the below error screenshot, where I have deployed 2 application, both application getting the error image pullback of error. So if you really work in the Kubernetes, then you definitely give the answer. So this is what interview are looking into you, like they are checking like really you have worked, because 80%, 50+%, they are like just mention like in resume they have work on the Kubernetes. They learn it from Udemy, YouTube, and any institute, but they didn't have any chance to work in the real-time environment. So the interview asks you about the scenario based or issue based, like if you really work, then you can explain it. So based on that, I have created the session based on the real-time issue, scenario-based question, and the day-to-day task. What are your day-to-day tasks? That I have already explained it here. So here I have session what are the day-to-day tasks in Kubernetes. Okay, so in this session I have explained you what are the infrastructure, what are the which type of infrastructure you are using in Kubernetes, how many types of cluster, how many cluster, what are the size of configuration of cluster, which type of application pod is running, how many pods are running, which type of application pods are running, what are all the which monitoring tool we are using, which logging tool we are using, which backup tool you are using, which all the tools we are using in our environment. That I have explained in this session. What are the day-to-day tasks, what you have to explain. Like the first question of interview is tell me about yourself, tell me about your project. So if you really work, then you can explain. If those candidates who hasn't worked in real time, they have just take the knowledge of about the Kubernetes and component and the service, but they didn't explain, like because they generally they haven't worked in the real environment. So based on that I have created the session so they can explain the infrastructure details, they can explain the other things. So image are present on container history, but still I am getting image pullback of error. So one of pod having crash loop back of error, what are the reason and how do we fix the issue? So this is the very use case what I have faced in my project. Most of the pod are in crash loop backup state. Most of pod are in error state. Most of pod are stuck in container creating state. So how do we fix those issues? And what is the root cause? So for that we have already explained it here. The pod are stuck in crash loop backup state. Pod are stuck in, you can see the pod getting image pullback of error. PVC stuck in terminating state. Pod are stuck in pending state. What is the reason? How do you fix the issue? Application URL down. So how to fix the issue? How do we extend the persistent volume? So based on that, like your cluster is unavailable, not able to connect cluster from jump box. So we have 20 plus issue I have created, I have generated the issue, and I have fixed those issue. So you can get the answer from my troubleshooting video, like how to fix the issue, or like the error issue, crash loop back, container creating state, how do we fix the issue, what command we are use, what are the way to figure to troubleshoot this issue. So you can get it from my channel, and even you can ping me on my WhatsApp to get more details on it. And one of the use case scenario based, like I am trying to create a pod but it is stuck in pending state. So how do we fix the issue and what are the reasons? So in this case I have faced the similar kind of issue. One of the pod is stuck in pending state, and how do we fix the issue, what is the reason? So I have explained this also in my video. I have created the issue, like some pod are in pending state. Let me show you pod stuck in pending state. So you can see it here. One of the pod is stuck in pending state. You can see it here. The SQL pod. I have deployed the SQL database, which is stuck in pending state. So after we are troubleshooting, now you can see it here. So now you can see it here. The SQL pod is up and running. See. So in this way I have generated the issue and I have fixed the issue in the live troubleshooting. You can see it here, the pod is in pending state, now it is in running state. here in the below command kubectl get pod -n tomcat. Under the namespace of tomcat, the SQL pod is up and running. Earlier it was stuck in pending state. So in this session I have explained you what is the root cause, why this pod is stuck in pending state, and how do you fix those issues. So for that I took some 13-15 minutes to fix this issue. I have explained all the command, the effort, how to fix those issues. So in this way you can get the details about the solution, resolution, and the command and the root cause. If you get more details, then you can get my WhatsApp number I have explained in my description box. You can ping me to get more details on it. So this is the so this is a top 20. I have explained the top 20 issue interview question and the scenario based question. So you can explain it way like you have worked on this issue, what are the, so you have to do practice, more practice. So this is the real-time production environment, this type of issue I have faced, and what I have covered in my session. The similar way I approach the steps what we have performed in my session. We are doing the, so we have also follow the same steps but in my production environment. So